I'm here today with Christman Fifer of Fifer Custom Homes, who is a longtime client. I started working with him and his wife on a number of home sales in the Dallas area. And today I have the pleasure of just being able to do rapid fire Q&A questions on the building process and things that a lot of people might want to know but don't have anybody to ask. So let's kick it off. One of the questions that I have is, when is the ideal time of year to start building a home? And does that factor into your project timelines at all? Taking weather into account with start dates, or what does that look like for you?
That's actually a great question and a tricky one, just for the nature of Texas weather's just crazy. I mean, the ideal time would be, probably late spring, early fall. But honestly, the best thing is the sooner you get started, the sooner you get done, is the best way to look at it. Because it could be a monsoon for 4 months. It could be dry for 4 months. And getting the foundation and the framing and that kind of thing done, that's the most important part.
So foundation and framing is the thing where weather is the biggest challenge.
Yeah, that's your mud bath that you want to get out of.
Okay. That was a perfect answer.
It's a gift.
It is. Let's see if you got this for 2 in a row.
Probably not.
Everybody always loves to talk about the pretty things in home sales and home construction, but taking all of the pretty things out of the equation, what are the most important places to spend money structurally when you're building a home?
100% foundation. You can't cheap the foundation. Dallas has all kinds of soil that some move, some don't. Certain parts of town are just different, and the foundation is key. Framing is the next piece of how that's engineered, how you watch your costs. That's key on how your house is going to perform long term.
What would be some of the things, kind of digging one layer deeper into, like, what do you look for with your foundation? Really, it's soil analysis and just making sure that it is custom for the site that you're building on?
Yeah, when we're in the planning phase, like the architectural plans, that's when we get our soil test, where we basically do a drill bore, which is anywhere from 25 to 100 feet. And that gives us our strata, and that tells the engineer how the soil movement happens. Is it a lot? Is it minimal? And that's how we get our information. Are they helical piers, concrete piers? Is it post tension? Is it just beam work? That's what determines how you go up.
And most consumers don't really understand that. So those are important questions to ask and collaborate on with your builder to make sure that the number one most important thing, which is your foundation, is solid.
Yeah, it's key. Batting 500.
I know. All right, let's see. Buyers wonder whether it's better to tear down and start from scratch or do a gut remodel expansion. You're someone who has extensive experience doing both. What are your thoughts?
It really is determined holistically, like how flexible is your budget. If your budget has flex 20 to 30%, then keeping the existing foundation is definitely something that's workable. If it's a little tighter, you're gonna save a lot of money by just going to a generic slab. You have to demo like a pier and beam home that you wanna add onto by hand. You can't have tractor work on top of the foundation. You can't risk recessing the piers than they already are. And so sometimes it's key budget-wise just to start over.
It sounds like when you go new, you maybe have a little more control over the process, and that helps you control cost.
Yeah, and slabs today are not what we produced in the early 80s. I'm a pier and beam guy, and I love the post-tension slab and the pier systems that are being designed today.
The engineering has definitely come a long way.
100%.
Okay, sometimes people can be confused when they hire a builder how that works with all the tradespeople under them. So for example, when countertops are getting installed, if someone messes up and they break the marble during the installation process, how do situations like that get resolved with the subcontractor? Does that fall on the client to address mistakes, or do you have to kick some shabuzi on your end?
Usually everything runs through us. So we have a service email. If something goes wrong, that goes to our crew directly to our office, and then they appoint who's got to go out to get what done, whether it's countertops, plumbing, HVAC, it's cooling or heating, too cold, too hot. The service email is how we get that maintenance.
And then do the tradespeople, if that subcontractor messes something up, is it on that subcontractor financially to fix it?
Well, to the client, it's on me.
Okay.
And then I deal with the subcontractor after that, so the homeowner doesn't need to worry about it.
And that's the way it should be in most client-builder relationships?
That's the way it is with us.
Okay. So there you go. That's an important lesson. That's also something you should ask to make sure that expectations are aligned on the front end before everyone's in bed with each other.
That's right.
When you're doing a custom build, how do you manage architects? I ask that because it's easy for a client to throw all their long wish list on paper and then for the architect to dream it up. But I've seen that architects can sometimes create these masterpieces that don't even fall remotely within budget. And then you feel like you're back to square one after months of planning and months of meetings. So how do you help to rein that in as a builder?
Well, there's several ways to handle it. We have clients that come to us that have an architect. So they get the plans done, we take those plans, we implement the budget according to what they've drawn. Also, we have a phase in our construction policy of a design contract. So if a client comes in, they hire us to design the work, we use our in-house architects to take care of that. And that contract doesn't lock them into using us to do the work, but it does lock them into us doing the design work. If you're going that route, it helps you control the cost and be more aware of the budget.
If everybody is starting from scratch, are you part of those meetings with the architect to make sure that people don't veer off?
Yes.
Yeah, because like I said, everyone can come up with a wish list of dreams, but you're the guy who has to operate in a budget.
That's right. It's usually 2 or 3 initial sit downs with the architect to keep me out of the picture of it so they have a little more of the creative freedom.
More fun in the
then,
beginning.
That's right. And then they pull me in, I'm like, that's not gonna work. That's way out of your budget.
Right.
Let's shrink this back, pull this in, those kind of parameters.
Yeah, but way better to have those conversations on the front end
Absolutely.
than getting surprise bills down the road.
That's right.
We're digging into the Dear Diary archives here. What was your most challenging project or client, and what did you learn from it?
What I tell everybody when we start is like, hey, look, I'm a human being. I don't have robots that work for me. There's gonna be a mistake somewhere. Are we gonna find it and fix it? Yes, we're gonna make it right. But you have to also realize as a builder is I'm coming into your personal space, and there's a hierarchy there of what you design, how you're working, you're in and out of the house. The key, the 100% element to construction is communication. And as long as you're communicating with the client and how that goes, it's gonna remedy a lot of headaches down the line. You know, I've learned that firsthand with a lot of different clients, and it goes back to the personal space aspect. You really have to respect where people live, and it's not just the people that own the property, it's like
Neighbors,
the people that live across the street. This is their home. They don't wanna listen to loud music and all that. So if you're aware of all of those elements, which I am down through my project manager, job foreman, all of us, we're communicating that with the crews constantly. And we don't use fly-by-night crews. Most of my guys have been with me 15 plus years. So they know what's at hand and how we're supposed to handle job sites.
And those are things too that you learn through the process of your career.
Sure.
I mean, sometimes failure can be a great lesson. So when you have those hiccups on a project or with a client, you're not likely to make them.
My grandfather was a builder in the 50s and 60s, and one thing he told me as a small child, he's like, learning never ends. You don't ever get to an age where you don't stop learning something, and we try to take that to heart. I need to pick up my Chinese. So.
Oh, what time did you order that Royal China?
Yep.
What time? You're funny.
Like 30 minutes.
Okay, all right. Well, you're doing well. Just keep with these efficient answers. You're going to be out of here. I know how I feel about real estate reality TV shows. As a real estate agent, I'm curious from a builder's perspective, are TV shows and the internet in general making your job easier or harder?
I think holistically, they make it actually a little easier because I think the client base that comes to us for work that they want to get done don't take those shows wholeheartedly. They can see kind of right through. I think they're great creative processes, but they do not paint the picture of what construction is.
The reality.
Right.
It's a microwaved success.
Yes.
And what you're doing and what I'm doing is sometimes more in the slow cooker.
To me, it's ramen noodle construction is what I call it.
It really is.
You put it in the pot, you heat it up, you eat it. It's that simple. Don't bank on it working completely.
Yeah. In terms of assembling your own team, whether that's on the business side or the project management and subcontractor side, what is one of the more valuable lessons you've learned building Fifer Homes as a company? That could be leaning into your strengths and delegating your weaknesses. What does that look like over the years for Fifer Homes?
Probably the biggest piece would be seeing guys with commitment. I have all the East Texas sayings that you could think of, but one of the biggest one is on time is late. And if my guys understand that from the get-go, that they have to be at a certain point, at a certain time to get whatever it is they need to get done and get in and out, that's a solid piece of what it takes to work in this business, as well as having the confidence that if you don't know the answer, just ask. No one's looking to get you in trouble. No one's looking to ridicule you, and you're going to learn by asking the right question. And that's the biggest piece to me.
And that's the communication you were talking about. The more effectively you can communicate as a team, the smoother things go.
Right. And there's a lot of guys that come in and out of our doors that, as long as they're willing to learn, like I have a guy that has worked for me. I've been in business almost 25 years. He's worked for me for 23. And he came to me as just sweeping the floors. And I could tell that he cared about it. And he's a smart kid, and he listens, and he's gifted as well. And he's one of my best carpenters. He has definitely helped promote himself.
That's
sure.
amazing. 23 out of 25 years?
Yes.
Well, he knows where the bodies are buried, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. You got to keep him
And
happy.
the coffee cans of cash.
So in terms of Fifer Custom Homes, this is a family business. You're partners with your
Yes.
wife, Sarah. And talk to me about what has been the blessing of coming together professionally. Were you nervous about that at all? What works with that partnership professionally that you're thankful for?
I think the biggest key is I have the creative side, and Sarah is the CFO brain.
Systems, structure.
Right. She's extremely organized, very administrative, super, super smart, easy on the eyes, and
Warm. Let's
knows,
just make this a Sarah video.
She knows how to help me help people, and I'm the one that knows how things go together, and she has the gift of implementing those as well. And I was apprenticing as a trim carpenter, and I went to work for a friend of mine from high school, his dad or her dad, and that's how I got into the business. In the apprenticeship, it just didn't work out. He was doing some things that he shouldn't do, and then just like overnight, I was hanging crown mold the next morning.
Wow. You were thrown in the deep end.
In the deep end, literally overnight. Sarah was teaching, and she held us steady for a little bit, and now, I did the demo and the cabinets and the framing and the plumbing and the electrical, and now I point.
Yep.
Here we are.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've grown something really impressive. I mean, even
Thank
just
you.
in the years that I've been working with you, seeing what you are conquering and the challenges and the new heights that Fifer Custom Homes is reaching, it's really exciting to watch that.
Yeah, it's been very helpful to partner with you too, Julie, for sure.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that.
You definitely propel us forward as us being seen.
Well, thank you. It's been a great partnership, and there's nothing more fulfilling than when you really do feel that collaboration and camaraderie.
That's right.
Well, I feel very lucky to represent your beautiful work, so thank you.
Thank you. Brown nose.
That's right. I know where my bread is buttered. Talk to me about working with designers and how you feel about that partnership and process.
I actually do like working with designers because I used to have to do it all, and that got tiresome. You only have so many hours in a day. I'm a really odd, creative bent, yet anal in process, hovering to make sure it gets done. But the key to me of any designer is not just the creativity. Success to me in a design firm is, do they have a business sense? Do they actually know how to run the business? And if they do, everyone on board will be successful.
And what matters? I mean, when you do bring on a creative, it's really easy to spend an obscene amount of money on a chandelier, but especially when you're building homes, what really matters and moves the needle on value?
The wow factor. You got a budget for the wow factor for sure. That doesn't mean you go for the crazy kill, but as long as you make it gel throughout the home and flow, that's the biggest key.
Cohesiveness, for sure.
That's a great word, for sure, yes.
What is a fair expectation on a build build timeline from planning to permits to that final certificate of occupancy?
100% depends on the size of the home and what's involved, but our time structure is anywhere from 8 to 12 months, and it depends on the city.
And what does it look like in terms of how you move the ball down the field with buyers in the planning process? Do you put in deadlines with architects and meetings so that you can push through quickly? Or do you just let that process happen a bit more organically?
Yeah, not too quickly. I mean, there is an organic factor, but we like to time it to once, let's say we have a spec home, we have the lot, we know when that's got to start. And then, once we have the demo done, we want to be leaping right into the permit process to be able to start construction fairly quickly.
And just keep momentum going.
For sure, yeah.
What would be the ideal customer for you? Personality traits, expectation, communication style. What is the best fit for you as a builder?
Someone that truly knows what they want and they have expectations. They trust the process. There's not a second guessing. Most builders don't like change orders. I don't mind them as long as everyone understands the process and the task at hand. I probably prefer someone a little more dry because I'm pretty black and white, but I mean, we get things done and confident, right? And that's not just to say like, hey, you need to be confident to get this done. You need to be confident in knowing what you want and telling me so we can execute and make that dream home what you really want it to be.
What would be on the reverse side of that, some pink flags that you'd be like, this isn't for me, I'm out?
Oh, I can't. I'm not going to get into particulars. But you can
maybe communication style, expectations that don't align with the budget. I mean,
I think anyone, maybe not anyone, but most people can do a personality read pretty quick. I've got a pretty distinctful gut that tells me this is gonna be hard.
Yeah, and I think too, like it kind of, when you talk about communication, it always comes down to trust. It's our job, you as a builder, me as an agent, to earn that trust.
Right.
But at some point, we've got to be teammates.
Sure.
Right, with the client. And I think sometimes we trust our gut on whether we can accomplish that with certain personality types.
Sure. Yeah, I tell a lot of people though that'll call me into a job and say, hey, I've got these plans, I want to build this house, I'm talking to this builder and this builder and this builder, and I'm like, don't go by budget alone. Honestly, the best fit for you is to talk to the 3 builders and like, I like this guy or I like this girl, and that's who you build your house, and you communicate about the budget down the road, because if you're just picking the guy by numbers, it's going to be a nightmare.
100%, because you're in this partnership, like you said, for at least a year. Right? Yeah, you just have to feel that collaboration together. But if it's numbers only, and what happens is if people have different communication styles and one person is on channel 2, the other person is on channel 6, it's a year of static.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes it a lot more tough.
Talk to me about, if I were going to use some words to describe a Fifer custom home, what's important to you? What do you want your product to be known as?
Quality, relevant. It does have a wow factor. So I think just a lot of the aesthetics that are warm and in and comfortable and cozy. Quality to me is the biggest piece.
The number one.
Sure.
I think that when we talk about trust, the trust in the product, I think more and more people want to feel safe about what they're buying. And I think that creating that trust where people are really comfortable sitting down and engaging in a partnership, because you think of it in terms of the closing date, here are the keys, but really it's a long-term relationship.
Yes.
Well after the closing table, where in an ideal situation for me and a client, it is that consumer then could call you a year or 2 years down the road to pick your brain about something, and you'll be a resource for them.
Sure. I walk all of my houses 4 to 5 times a week, sometimes twice a day.
You are there.
Yes, I'm there. I'm in the framing, I'm in the electrical, I'm in all the aesthetics. I'm like, my wife would not want that plug right there. Let's don't do that can light. This stud warped, get it out, put in a new one, those kind of things. Because I don't want you to call me in a year that something's gone wrong, right? Because it's not just the year to get it done and build it. Now you're in the warranty phase. And we want it to be as minimal stress as it can, because you bought a home, you're living there, it's your family, you don't want to deal with that aspect of it. So we try to eliminate that if we can.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I feel so confident selling your homes, because it's easy to sell something you believe in. And when I think of you guys, I think of long-term relationships. And I think you do a really good job with that.
Thank you much. I appreciate that.
Okay, one last question for you. In terms of trends come and go, but there is sort of a timeless design, and you have a great eye for that. How do you build something that is what people are coveting and what people want, and that's trending, without having it be too of the moment, so that you can guarantee essentially that your product is timeless?
Some of that we get into in the design phase, but we don't go too crazy on tile selections because that's very trendy, right? So we like to keep the simplicity in the cabinets to where, you know, they do have relevance of today's style factor, but they're gonna be in 10 to 15 years down the road. We try to keep the trim details on the doors simple, yet some of the main rooms we use as accent for elegance. That's another way that we keep it simple and in cue with what is relevant and what you see in most homes. And we don't try to go crazy with countertops and arches and barn doors and things of that nature that are all nice, but you don't want to go overkill with those items because it's stereotypical with a house. It just kind of makes it stale.
It's a good answer. I think that you're going to be able to go pick up that Royal China in time.
Right on. 4 o'clock.
It was great, right? It was awesome. All right, cool. Thank you so much. Yes.